Hello and welcome to Key 7, to the final of the 7 Keys of Confidence. And as ever, probably the first time I've spoken properly this morning, obviously, on a Sunday morning after a very interesting late night, hence the puffy eyes, late nights. I know it takes a while for people to recognise that this is coming live and that to get it on their stream, so it's hence why I say it again. I've said it every time. If you're watching the recording, that's why I waffle at this first bit and don't really say very much of importance. It's purely because I know it takes a while for people to suddenly go, oh, it's popped up, it's there. And then once people do, it's great for you to like, it's great for you to comment on. And even if you're watching the recording, then please do make your comments, put your questions in. You can direct message me as well on this topic, and I will do my best to answer your questions either personally through the direct messaging or through the comments section below. So I'm just going to move myself because it's a bit of an odd angle for me. So how are you finding it so far? What has been your key that has really made you sit up and take notice? I've had a number of emails from people. If you want to email me, you can go go to my website, which is juleswyman.com, or you can send me an email at jules@juleswyman.com. And a couple of people have been saying, I always find it fascinating when people get the information about the 7 Keys of Confidence, that there's always one that resonates so much with people, and that's the one that they lock into and go, yeah, this is the one that I want to use to transform what's going on for me, to make a difference for me, and it's where I'm going to start. And that's what I would recommend for you to do. If this is the first of them and you think, oh well, if I get this one then I'll nail it and I don't have to watch the others, then it's not how it works. My recommendation is to go back and get all of the keys, all of the locks, so that you can get some understanding for yourself, because there will be one that resonates with you, and whether it is a specific key or it's a specific lock, be mindful of which one it is and focus on that, and give yourself a period of time, be it at least 7 days. In our ideal, I would say 30 days of focusing, doing everything you can to be mindful of that particular key or lock every day. And that could be setting alarms on your phones. I know I have alarms going off on my phone at various points during the day to remind me of stuff, get me to check in with things, because we have a lot going on. Life is really busy, and therefore I personally don't choose to put the pressure on myself to try and remember all of this. Even for this, I have little notes by the side of me. But it's about ways of making it as easy as possible. When I first started my exploration, oh gosh, probably 12, 13, maybe 14 years ago now, we're looking at this aspect of things. My flat that I was living in at the time was covered in Post-it notes, because I would have an insight with something, or I'd want to remind myself of something. So that would go on a mirror, or that would go by the kettle, or this one would go on the fridge. And so there would be Post-it notes everywhere, because I just don't see the point in trying to force myself to remember something when I haven't embedded it yet. So I like to make it as easy as possible. So that would be my recommendation, is to go through and watch all of the videos. And if you haven't got time to do all of the videos and go back, just stop watching one TV program a night and insert this, and then you'll get them then very quickly. Or if you're somebody who prefers to have things on audio, then you can get the 7 Keys of Confidence download by going to juleswyman.com. It's totally free. Just put in your name and your email and it will go straight to your inbox, so that you can have access to that as a resource material and you can go back and listen to it. It has the workbook in as well, so you get that for free, and that has all the questions that I talk about as well. So you can access that and have it as a resource that you can go back to as a reminder. And I know that somebody who was on the original, in fact, webinar that I did of the 7 Keys of Confidence, which was about, oh gosh, I think that was about 2-3 years ago now, they printed off the workbook And what she said she did is that she would fold it in half, so she'd have either one of the locks or one of the keys facing her, and that would be her focus for the week. And then she'd do the other one, and then she'd move on to the next one. And for her, that was a way of just keep reminding herself. So she used her workbook with her notes as her post-it. She had that up, and I think she said she had that on her mirror, because it's a great place to put things to remind herself. So, without further ado, talking of those keys, let's get on with the 7th key. What is that 7th key? And more specifically, what is the lock? Well, to understand the lock for this one, I will start with the key. And the key with this level is about developing trust. And trust is a very interesting word, and it's not a word that I had thought that much about, and especially not in relation to confidence, my own specific self-confidence, as I was looking into it and growing, wanting to understand it for myself. And then as I was researching, I can't remember which book it was, but something was talking about where words originate from, and that when even though words have changed and they develop and they mould as we evolve and develop as well, their origin still kind of has an essence there. It still has a flavour to it that carries on through. And I seem to recall the book saying that the origin of confidence is still flavouring the word. I think that's how it phrased it. And so I was looking up at, well, where does the word come from? What does it actually mean? And when you take it back to its origins, it comes from 2 Latin words, confidere. And con means with, and fidere means trust. So confidence really means with trust. And you can see that in confidence is being used, the word confidence is being used a great deal in marketing at the moment, in lots of advertising. Hello to those of you joining, please just click on so I can say hi and give you a name check. What happens is that with that being used so much in marketing, what a lot of people are trying to do is that the product they're saying, or the service they're saying they're offering, is something that you can trust, something that you can have that confidence with when you buy it, that you can trust it's going to give you what it does on the tin, kind of thing. So when we're talking about trust in relationship and confidence in relationship to ourselves, if we're talking about self-confidence, then we have to be talking about self-trust. Now, a question that I like to ask people, be it one-to-one clients or in workshops, is how much do you trust yourself? And I tend to get the same answer. I would say a good 98+% of the audience will say roughly the same answer, which is, well, it depends. It depends on what you're asking me to trust myself about. And I'm like, well, I'm not asking you to trust yourself to get the right answer, to be perfect, to make things happen in that way. I'm not asking for that level of trust, because I don't believe that that's possible. But what I'm asking you to think about is, how much do you trust yourself to make a decision, to choose something, for example, to decide what will be the right thing for you in that moment. Now, quite often we might make a decision about something and trust ourselves in that moment, and then we get a different bit of information a few minutes later, and we think, oh God, I've made the wrong decision, and we start doubting ourselves, which interestingly is the lock. When you are locked in this world of doubt, you're then questioning yourself. And again, if we look at the derivation of a word, the word doubt, it connects to and looks like the word double. And again, when you take that back, and I can't remember the whole of the chain of where that goes, but there's a part of it of recognition with doubt that it's about two, hence the double connection. And usually when we're doubting something, we might use the phrase, I'm in two minds. And that's because we've given ourselves these two options. We've got these two things. So we start to doubt ourselves. Well, should I do this or should I do that? Could I do this? Could I do that? And we start to question between the two. And a lot of people will look into the kind of doing the pros and cons side of things. And actually then that starts to make one decision right and the other decision wrong, which then gets us into the loop of wanting to make sure we make the right choice, the positive choice, the good one. And that keeps us stuck in a loop of wanting to be perfect, which again is one of those locks. And perfect may not be the word that you use. It may just be the fact that you want to get it right, that you want to make sure that everything is as it should be. When in actual fact that's not going to be serving you or helping you either. So it's about looking at what is the decision that's going to be, or the choice that you need to make, that is the most viable, useful, helpful, caring, kind, considerate, whatever it may be for you in that moment with the information that you have at that moment in time. Quite often we get caught up into but I need to know whether I'm going to get the job, whether I'm going to be able to get the house, whether the relationship's going to work, whether the health's going to be okay. We want to predict into the future of knowing and having this information so that we can be certain that the choice we make is the right one. Well, the majority of us don't have that immediate ability to be able to do that. I'm kind of pausing there because I know that there are some people who do have a gift in some ways of being able to look into some aspects of the future. So I don't want to dismiss it completely. And I also believe that it's something that many of us could have, but for various reasons we don't tap into that ability for ourselves. And in some senses that does link into trust, because when you can, that intuition, that guidance, that insight that we could have in that moment is where we can trust that, do you know what, turning left here, I know it goes against logic or what I would think, but actually that to me gives me, there's a sense there's a guidance, there's something, and yet the logic and the thinking and the questioning and the doubting may kick over and go, yes, but I always go right, so I'm going to go right. And when we're doing that, when we're constantly questioning ourselves, we place ourselves into that position of mistrusting our instincts, of mistrusting ourselves. So I'm trying to think of an example that would be of value. There's a phrase that came up. I think I originally heard this from Tony Robbins, and it's one that I find really useful to remind myself when I am, if I hear my brain go into that doubting, yeah, but what if, and maybe, and should I, and maybe that's the way to do it, and when I go into that place of questioning and doubting that's not in a necessarily helpful way, I remind myself that I just need to connect with what is the what's the option, the choice that I think is going to be the most appropriate, resourceful, helpful, supportive for me, rather than what one is going to be the right one or the correct one or the perfect one or the good one or whatever it may be in that sense. So rather than getting caught up with all of that questioning and all of that doubting, I give myself I remind myself of this phrase, which is that I always do the very best I can with the resources I have at this moment in time. And what I understand from that phrase and how I use it for myself is that the decision I make at this moment in time, the choice that I take, the option that I pick, whatever phrase is the right one for you, is I can only make it from the place that I'm at right now. So the resources I have at that moment in time might be the information I have. So say, for example, I was talking to a client the other week around, they'd got this job opportunity that had come up. And she's also looking to develop her own practice in a particular line of work, which she's also studying and developing with that as well. So she's got these two things now. Do I take this job, or do I and therefore give it the time, which will take away from the other thing, or what is the right thing? And she was in these two minds because she'd done the pros and cons list and she could see that there were benefits with both. And I said, okay, well, the information that you have at this moment in time, the information, the outside information, so what the job will give you, the time frames, the finances, the expectations wrapped around that, versus the expectations, the finances, etc., that's wrapped around the other thing, the other option. With that external information, is there any more information that you can have without going into the future projection and trying to make stuff up and trying to work things out in that sense? Is there anything anything else that you could get that you haven't yet got with regards to these two things? And she's like, well, no. Okay. So if you trusted yourself right now, what do you know would be the next best step for you where this is concerned? Was my question to her. And again, her head kicked in with, well, I don't know about the job and I don't know how to do it. And I said, no, pause. Take 3 deep breaths. For those of you who have ever worked with me or seen me speak or come to any of the workshops that we do, you know that this is a key place that I will quite often go to, which is just pause and take 3 deep breaths before you do anything. Just relax, take those 3 deep breaths and ask yourself, what would be the right thing for you? What would be the next best thing for you? And see what comes up. And the moment that you do, I can pretty much guarantee that you'll have an indication one way or the other. And truthfully, she did. And that helped her make that decision. The other thing that you can do is if you've got if these are the decisions that you have that you're doubting or you're questioning yourself over, imagine that you've got them on 2 sides of a coin. So one decision A is on one side and decision B or option B is on the other side. So you've got these 2 options, A and B, on one side of a coin, on one on the other. And you get the coin and you flip the coin and you catch it on your hand or on the table or whatever. Now, before you look at it, check in with yourself. Which one are you hoping is up? Is it A or B? Because pretty much most of us have a gut instinct, or we may have an insight or a thought or something that goes, I really hope it's B or I really hope it's A. That is the trust. That is that element of looking at that thing, because that's an internal guidance system that is there for you. And when we get caught in this world of doubt, when we're locked in with that, it's just this circle of loop that thinks it's keeping us safe, that thinks it's keeping us within our comfort zone, that thinks it's protecting us and giving us what we need, but actually it's just this loop of doubt that's just not serving us. It may keep us, it perceives it keeps us psychologically safe, but it's not giving us real safety, because it's beating us up, it's criticising, it's questioning, and none of it's in a resourceful way. None of it's particularly helpful where that's concerned. So why on earth would you want to go down that route? Why on earth would you want to do that? So trust yourself. And the other quote that I love with this, that I use a lot, is Pete McIntyre's quote, which is, confidence isn't about being right, it's about not fearing to be wrong. And so many of us, I'll just repeat that one again, that confidence isn't about always being right. It's about not fearing to be wrong. And it's so many of us get caught up in, and I know this one myself, of get caught up in, if I don't want to be wrong, I don't want to get it wrong, I don't want to be seen as wrong, I don't want to make a mistake, I don't want to look like an idiot, I don't want to get embarrassed, I don't want to shame myself. All of those things, that kind of doubting myself of having a go with something is what's going to keep me stuck. And that's the challenge that we have with growing confidence, is that we do have to question the thoughts that we have. We do have to challenge them, not because they're bad, not because they're wrong, but just checking in with ourselves. Is actually, does this thought serve me? Is this story serving me in any way? Is this belief that I've got serving me in any way? And a lot of them we've carried for however many years we've been on this planet, and we just kind of let them guide us, rather than us turning around and saying, actually, thank you for what you've given me so far to this point, but your work here is done. You can move on and let that thought go, because there's no point in holding on to it. So your key is trusting yourself. And I know that when I was being interviewed recently, and will quite often share this particular aspect about confidence, about it coming from the word, the literal meaning of the word when its derivation. And the person that I was interviewing, very successful businesswoman, spent a lot of time in the corporate world, highly intelligent. Her response was interesting. Her reaction to the comment of understanding that confidence is trust. She was just blown away, and I've had a number of conversations with her since, and she said that's just understanding that has changed my world. She said, because whenever I go to do something, if I'm not certain of it, if I am questioning myself, I know that I get then into questioning in a not helpful way, because it's criticising and I'm doubting myself and all of that gets wrapped around that. She said, I just now stop. I said, okay, what would it take for me to trust myself right now? And she said, just giving herself that moment to question and the opportunity. She said different information's coming in. She starts to feel relaxed, feeling comfortable in her own skin, rather than fighting against things and trying to get it right. She's just looking, okay, well, what if I trusted myself that the choice I'm making is the right one right now? I can make a different choice further down the road. That further down the road could be 5 minutes, month, year, whatever. But it's recognising that circumstances change, information changes. That's why the decision that you're always doing the very best you can with the resources you have at that moment in time, I think is such a valuable phrase, because it is reminding yourself. I know that if I'm in a place of, well, I'm sure we've all experienced this, when we are, let's say we're on a holiday, and it's the absolutely right holiday for us. Everything is the way that we want it to be. The temperature, the location, the people or the isolation, everything is absolutely spot on the way that you would want that holiday to be, and you feel relaxed, you're chilled, you're doing what you want to do, whatever that may be, whether it's climbing a mountain or sitting by a pool, it's exactly where you want it to be. Now, my assumption is that you've also experienced a time where you've had a high workload, or there's been a lot to go and do on your plate. So say you're organising a house move, or you're applying for jobs or taking exams or whatever. There's been a time where there's been a lot going on, and you've got to think about all these different things. Now, I know from my perspective, and I'm going to make an assumption about you, that when you're in that holiday chilled mode versus when you're in the overwhelmed stress mode, you're going to make two very different decisions. You could be given this exact same scenario, exact same two choices, for example, about a situation. But when you're in this relaxed holiday happy mode, you're going to make one choice. And when you're in this overwhelmed stress mode, you're going to make a different choice. Because what you can access, the resources that you're accessing internally at that moment in time are different. So therefore you're always doing the very best you can with the resources that you have at that moment in time. And that's where that's where building up your self-confidence, building up that self-trust is going to help you to feel even more calm, comfortable, relaxed in your own skin, rather than fighting, doubting, questioning, chastising, abusing yourself internally. How can you trust yourself if you've got that abuser or critical voice going on internally for you? So the question that goes with this is, what if trusting yourself from deep within could change your life? What if trusting yourself from deep within could really change your life? Now, I do recognise that for so many of us, that making those decisions, that stepping into that world of trust, to stepping into that world of confidence, can seem so alien from where we are right now, and it may not be something you've experienced. So give yourself a break, be kind. I'm using one of the other keys, be kind, and recognise that it's okay to feel nervous doing something different. It's okay to feel uncertain. It's okay to feel uncomfortable going outside of that zone, the known zone, also known as the comfort zone. But it's okay to step outside of that. It's okay to feel that little bit of nervousness out there, because you're in a place that you've never been to before. But the longer that you stay out there, the more that known zone will grow, and you'll become comfortable in that area, and then you can continue to stretch yourself and so on and so forth. So I hope that this has made sense. The whole purpose of doing these videos was to give you a deeper resource from the 7 Keys of Confidence webinar, which you can, as I've said, you can get on juleswyman.com for free and have as a resource for yourself there. So that any time that you are questioning yourself, any time that you hear yourself say, I don't have any confidence to, or I wish I had the confidence to, or I don't feel I've got the confidence, or I've had a confidence knock, or I'm having a confidence crisis, or however you might dialogue it, you've got that as a resource. Go and have a quick scan through of what the keys are and what the locks are, because my experience as a confidence coach is that working with thousands of people that I have now for over a decade, is that people will be locking themselves out from experiencing their own confidence. So when you can look at those locks and go, okay, well, how am I locking myself out from confidence right now? Am I looking for perfection? Am I chastising myself and abusing myself? Am I doubting myself? Find the lock and look at that, look into that aspect. And in my experience, most of the time, really, when you work on the locks, the keys follow. You don't have to work on the key. It's actually looking at the lock first. Most of us prefer to work on the key because we think the key's the nicer part. But actually, the lock, by looking at the locks, that's what's going to give you the depth. So use that resource on juleswyman.com if you haven't already got that. The videos of these will always stay on Facebook as long as I've got this page, and Facebook still keeps everything the way that it is. So they are always going to be there for you to access. You may or may not know that also on a Monday evening, 7 p.m. UK time, I do a Facebook Live impromptu as well, which is a question time. So if you have questions about what's come up over the last week, through the 7 Keys of Confidence, or if it's something else around confidence that you'd like to ask, then you can join me live on that as well. And also, if you want further and want to dive even further with your confidence, I am doing a full day called The Truth About Confidence, and you can go to thetruthaboutconfidence.com to access even more information about that, what the day entails. Includes lunch, which is always a bonus. Yeah, you can get that on thetruthaboutconfidence.com. And if there is anything specific that you have a question about or would like information on, then do direct message me or email me, and I will happily have a conversation with you. Or even it may spark a great video that I could do that can help other people as well. So by you asking your question, you can help others, which I know so many of us like to do. So I'm going to sign off now. I'm hoping that you have got a lovely Sunday lined up for yourself. Some of you in the world might be coming to an end of your particular Sunday, or the day might be coming to an end. Hopefully you're not. Looks like the sun may finally be coming out for us here, so I hope that I'm going to get out and do some walking in nature, which will be fantastic. And in the meantime, have a wonderful Sunday, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Take care.